But now with me talking comics, we have a guest in the studio. They are so awesome for coming in. They are working on a comic right now. Their name is Alexander Munoz. I said it so bad.
You definitely did.
I definitely did. I'm very excited butchering.
Everybody does.
Good. Nobody butchers my name.
Sure. Munoz.
All right. You want to butcher my last name real quick?
Slanch McTavish.
That's it. That's my
French
last name.
Dude.
Oui. All right. So say your name, because I
Oh, sorry.
butchered
Should I
it.
say this one?
Yeah.
Slanch McTavish.
You got it. So Alexander's in the studio with us.
Alexander Munoz.
Munoz. I'm bad with accents because I am just shitty. That's it, straight up. So we're talking to your comics. I'm very excited to have you. Now, you're an independent comic creator yourself.
Sure.
Now, for me, the best comic book creators have killer origins, right?
Yeah.
So everybody loves a killer origin, especially when you kill Uncle Ben.
You mean comic book characters, killer origins.
Yeah, killer origins. Yeah. So what is sort of your killer origin as far as being a comic book creator? What sort of events and planets align to get you where you are now?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna start by just throwing all my identity politics at you just at one time.
Let's do it.
I'm Hispanic. I'm trans. I'm on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
It was difficult to make friends as a
Yeah.
kid, and it was difficult to know what people are talking about when they are talking. So there's something reassuring about a fully formed comic book universe where you can look at it and say, I know the rules, and they don't expect anything of me, and this is just something I can enjoy. I think. If I can get off from talking, avoid talking about myself for a minute.
Go where you want to go.
If we could just take the week to eulogize Stan Lee over and over.
I know.
I think what made him remarkable is that he was a superstar editor.
Yeah.
That's not appreciated enough. You can't name like 3 other superstar editors, I guarantee you.
No, you can't.
And what he did was it's debatable how much he actually created the characters.
Yeah.
But what he really did undeniably was create a sandbox for writers to play in. Writers and artists to play in. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I love the stories where it's basically Stan Lee comes in and he goes, give me a guy who's on fire all the time. Oh,
Exactly.
Human Torch. There you go. That's what it is.
And so that's really what I got interested in. When I was a kid, I would write these terrible stick figure comics. I still have them at home. I'm actually furious at myself for not bringing them in today.
Oh, it's okay.
But I spent, no kidding, years just building comic book worlds to play in.
So let me ask you then. So you've kind of grown into comics because it was a world you can identify with. I think that's really strong for a lot of people. It's sort of this reflection of who you are and what you wish you could be.
Sure.
You know, and so for people who are feeling alone in the world or feeling beaten down or just isolated, these superheroes gave you that sort of highlight. Now, what sort of have you built out of all this? What are you sort of working on? Tell us about your current project.
Sure. Well, the project that I'm currently working on is called Midgard. Started as a working title, just kind of settled into what it is now. It is a fantasy story where the idea is we want the fantasy world itself to be as wide and diverse and strange and beautiful as the one that we actually live in now.
Yeah.
I'm really tired of super white fantasy. I'm real sick of it. So I wanted to have a lot of very different and very vibrant cultures.
Yeah.
With their own strengths and flaws and all that. There's an old proverb of if you really want to know someone, ask their neighbors.
Yeah.
And that's the philosophy I wanted to bring to it.
I think that's interesting. I mean, so the name of the book is Midgard.
Yep.
And the kind of notes I had about it was an anthology of fantasy stories set in a magically diverse world. Would you say that's an accurate representation?
That's accurate. I believe that's what I wrote as our log line on Kickstarter.
There you go. We stole it right off the internet. That's DIY.
Yeah.
Copy and pasting.
Sorry, I like trying to find my camera.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. I never look at the right camera. I'm looking at the wrong camera right now, Justin. How does that make you feel?
Let's both look at the wrong camera.
No. Yeah, we could play it both ways this game. So
That's what
you know,
she said.
now, thanks, Carbia. So we were at MICE a few weeks back, which is Massachusetts Independent Comic Expo. I think I said that right. But one of the biggest trends we saw was like everyone has these passionate ideas about comics and the characters.
Yes.
You know, and so I'm wondering like, what separates someone who has an idea about characters, an idea about storytelling from someone who is a storyteller? Like, what's the sort of difference between just creating a character and creating
Is that the professionalism police calling? So what separates someone who has ideas from someone who tells a story?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's as little as telling the story.
Yeah.
My philosophy in like 3 easy parts is elocution, execution, integrity.
See, that's,
You need to be able to articulate your idea. you need to be able to follow through on your idea, and you need to be able to come clean when you can't do one of those things. And that's the problem that we had. I'm the first to say that our project had no shortage of trouble.
Yeah.
Pretty publicly, we had a problem with our original artist who could not follow through on our timetable, and basically over the first 6 months made about 4 pages of content, and over the 6 months after that refused to talk to me about the fact they'd only made 4 pages of content.
Yeah, ghosted you basically.
So, exactly, and that was disappointing for everyone, especially to the backers. I've reimbursed a lot of the backers out of my own pocket because I still want to have that money to pay the new artists that we're hiring.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunately, so like you're saying, you know, the sort of perseverance you have to run through with these sort of things you're creating. I mean, comics are such an involved medium. There's so many elements, so many like facets that you have to build in order to create this book. Absolutely. Now, do you find that sort of persevering through all these obstacles, I feel like it always makes your product stronger. Has that kind of worked it with you? Or
well, I hope so.
Yeah.
We're finding these great new artists. V. Lewandowski, who is the artist I'm currently I've started working with on one of the segments in our comic. Can't trick me by changing cameras. I'm very good at this. They're such an incredibly talented artist, and the vibrancy they bring to these character designs is truly remarkable. And what I'm doing in the meantime to satisfy my own creative urges, and as a sort of apology to our backers, is I'm writing a full-length novel set in this world that we've created to send for free to the backers. So that's a little surprise that you guys are getting. I told you on the Kickstarter that there would be a surprise here today.
See, I think that's awesome because you're sort of providing, you've built this world. So for me, I've recently, over the past few years, become a dungeon master. I started DMing, and I build my own worlds and stuff. And so the thing for me that I love is, like you said, creating those rules, creating that world. Now, with your comic, what are sort of some of the rules of the world? What are sort of some of the elements that really make your world unique?
Sure. I can describe to you the shape of the universe in this world.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The first thing you need to understand is the world is flat.
Okay. Oh, flat earthers in your world?
I know.
Isn't that how it's supposed to be?
Oh my God.
No.
Bailey is a flat earther, everybody.
Before I tell any of you anything about my comic, I have to tell you, the Earth is flat. So the first thing you have to understand is the Earth is flat.
Okay.
And at the top of the universe is the star cloud, where all matter is created. And at the bottom is the pit, where all matter is destroyed.
Ooh.
And those who live up here give to control those down there. And those who live down here take to destroy those up there.
Okay.
And in the middle of this war, the Midgard formed.
Yeah.
The wall between the two sides.
Okay.
And on the Midgard, life grew. And from that were the humans.
Yeah.
And then each side sought to control the humans. The humans spread out to avoid their control.
Mm-hmm.
And now the war keeps going on while the humans try to live.
See, that's super cool. So it's sort of like a relook at how the world was created, or how this, whatever this universe is. I get the allegory of the taking and the giving of the. I think that's really interesting.
For the record, I do not think the Earth is flat. It's a metaphor for like
Your
human
fantasy
perception.
world is flat.
Exactly.
Your fantasy world is flat. In a perfect world, it would be flat. But
part of the crux of the novel that we're going to be releasing, and this is actually kind of a small part of it, is someone is told to walk across the world and jump off the edge, and they start walking and they're going the wrong way.
You should just play up to the flat earthers. You should just try to like.
Oh, I'm gonna court them.
Post it.
They'll buy anything.
They will. That's what I'm saying. They'll be like.
The next Scientology. You'll sell a sci-fi book as reality.
My partner has heard me say I want to be the next Scientology so many times. This is gonna be worrying that I'm being supported.
This
No, that's
transparent
cool.
with
I'll join
this.
your cult. I'm up for it. Let's bring it on.
I don't believe in
Absolutely bring your
anything.
cult.
Yeah, move over, Tom
Nobody
Cruise.
can get me. So one last question before we go to a sweet video. Let me ask.
Who's my favorite superhero?
Yeah, well, we can ask that as well.
I would love that.
You want to spit that out? I feel like you can ask yourself.
Karnak.
Karnak.
I love Karnak.
Really? What's his? So the new Karnak. So when he's able to like totally see. So Karnak is an Inhuman, which I kind of don't like the Inhumans. Mainly because they were used as a reason to like kill off a bunch of X-Men.
Sure.
But
now the X-Men are being used to kill a bunch of Inhumans, so
which
it's all cool.
it's kind of
Goes around, comes around.
What is that metaphor? What do you think? I know it's just about property
It's a
rights.
metaphor for copyright.
Yeah. It's about Sony. But so Karnak, for those who don't know who Karnak is, he's kind of an obscure character. Tell us a little bit about Karnak.
Karnak started as someone who just sees the weaknesses in all things. And at the beginning, that was like, I see a weakness in your guard, Captain America, pow.
Yeah.
Or, look at this box, pow. But then it evolved into, we must start the revolution on this day. And here's the problem with your philosophical system. And I'm no longer dead.
Yeah.
and he's one of the few nihilist superheroes who really works.
Yeah.
Because he's not a nihilist who sees himself as in control of anything.
I love it. I love it. Karnak's awesome. He totally took down all of Stark Tower with one punch.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty sick.